Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to RTB, your resilience toolbox. So the space that we get to share and learn and grow together. I'm very pleased today to have Milesh joining. Welcome, Milesh. Hello.
Morning, Nikki.
I'm very excited to have Milesh. Milesh is a 16-year-old boy well, I met him through a school down the road from me when we were doing the Youth Toastmasters program. And he blew my mind with some speeches and talks that he did explaining how he was using and had used gaming to help him overcome various things in his life and to become resilient and unbreakable. And I thought that that would be incredibly valuable information to share with our listeners. I'm going to start, Milesh. I know that you developed many of these techniques from early on, from when you were a young boy. And I wonder if you can share with us some of the things that you went through as a young child that made you need to find some solution, some way of helping yourself.
It was like everything was in place and balanced, and then like there was like this huge wrecking ball that just like came through my life and smashed everything up. So that is basically how I describe it. So everything was like the term hunky dory, and then my parents got divorced, and then like with the divorce came like huge amounts of small minor problems that became major problems, and then at the end of the day my parents end up fighting with each other, and then I was unsupported as a child growing up, and then I had to find my own means of developing.
I mean, that must have been really difficult. What age were you when this was happening, and
I was
where were you getting the support that you needed? Who was helping you?
I was 8 years old, and well, I did get some support, but I mean it wasn't a replacement, but I had a substitute. It was my grandparents, and they stayed even though my parents was fought with them, and they fought with my parents because like they felt it was unfair what I was going through. So there was also problems there. But they gave me the support because when my parents used to fight, I used to run to them, and then they comforted me, and they made me feel as if I'm fine the way I am, and that it's just this is how life is, and I just have to adapt to it, and I have to grow from. That's what they do with me. When I started to adapt my gaming mentality in was when I started thinking what would happen when they weren't there. And then I was like, what would I do? And then the gaming mentality hit me. So then that is when it all started.
Was there a point that you suddenly thought, my life is like a game? Like, how did that happen for you?
Yeah, it was just like in a game when you like start playing the game, you're kind of getting used to it. So you don't just get it like some of us do if you're lucky, or if if our mind just clicks, we get what to do and we do it and we're good at it. But most of the time it's not like that. You have to get used to a game. It's a different story, it's a different characters, different power-ups, different, so every game has a different setup. So I figured this was my new setup and I had to play. So I had to adapt, get to learn things, meet new avatars. So when my grandparents weren't there and my parents were fighting, I would turn on my PlayStation, I would start playing. When my parents would go to their friends and they had children and they had a PlayStation or console, we would be playing games and I would be the child that's getting happy because my parents are still talking to their friends. And what does that mean? I have more time to play games. So I didn't want to go home. I wanted to play. And now that I'm playing with other children, it just makes it even more interesting.
I'm very interested on the similarities that you found between your life and the games that you were playing, and how that helped you get through your difficult times.
So I found three interesting similarities. The first was that like I could only control me in this game. So the divorce was the game, and no matter what I did, I couldn't change the story. Only the avatars in the story would change the story. So I could only use me to create the result I wanted. So then I thought to myself that I should find a way to grow from this. And then the way I grew was I improved my that time you were learning in LO about self-awareness, things like that. So confidence. So I would improve those things that I learned in school about in life orientation. And I would improve it, making myself better. And then I started to realize as I was making myself better, it was almost like I was gaining strength in the game. And like you would normally gain strength in the game as you get more experience.
Mm.
And then as you get more XPs, you just tend to level up. And as you level up, your strength increases as well. And then you start to get different power-ups. In most games, you have simple levels that build up into like complex or more difficult levels. So that was my life because it started off very, very simple and then it ended up very, very, very complex and very
Yeah.
like messed up, like broken. And then I had to piece it together. So my small levels were like just stopping myself from crying every time my parents would, just reassuring myself that everything was gonna be okay. Then like the hard, difficult levels were when I was in school and like when the whole barrier formed between me and my parents, between me and my parents, we like I couldn't just speak to them because they were fighting and it's just like you don't want to get involved because if they're screaming and shouting, you get involved and they're gonna shout at you and you're
Mm.
gonna end up crying. So you just stay back. So that was kind of creating a barrier and the more they did that or the more they fought, the more I didn't want to talk to them. So it was like completely broken. Like there was almost like the bond was blocked. And then what what I took from that was that I had to solve my problems on my own now because I couldn't go to them and be like, Mommy, Daddy, I have a problem. These children keep making fun of me because I was literally the only Indian at my school. So the way I talked, the
Mm.
way I did things were different to the way they did. They would find anything to put me out and it used to break me down and then I didn't know what to do and I couldn't go to my mommy and my daddy. So I was like, how do I do it myself? How do I solve my problems? And when that is when I had to think of it as a game and then I had to try to find like power ups and ways of solving those things. And that is also when I started to using growth mindsets and um my self awareness, trying to figure out who I am, what I want to be, and figuring out where I want to be. Now, currently, couple high levels I went through was me adapting to high school. My
Mhm.
daddy wasn't in my life, so it was only my mommy and me. So I couldn't, and my mother alone is stressed. She's a single parent. She has to pay the bills, things like that. I can't pull my problems onto my mother. She has enough of her own. So I had to find ways to adapt myself. There were others like going through puberty, things like that. I had no fatherly guidance. No one explained anything to me. Generally, that even the divorce, no one ever explained anything to me. So it was a couple of hectic problems. So those are all my difficult levels. Every time you break down or you give up or you feel you're not in it, you're not worth it, you don't deserve it, things like that, I believe that is a life loss. So I figured that or realized that I was given a certain amount of lives. Like in any game, you get a certain amount of lives, then you have to replay the level. And unlike in games, now you don't get to replay the level.
Yeah.
So I have a certain amount of lives and I have to make it to the end of the game in that amount of lives. It's like if I compare, it's like Jumanji. they got into the game, and if they lost all their lives, they're stuck in the game, or they just die in the game and they can't come back home. So it was a similar thing with me, because I knew that I had a certain amount of lives, and I need to find a way to clock the game in that amount of time. So I need to find a way to grow from this divorce, and eventually in the future create a family which can actually be sustained, where my kids don't have to go through what I went through. I just adapted and I improved my mentality and the way I looked at things. Like my overall perspective on life changed. And then I feel like that is how I didn't clock the game yet, but I feel like I actually unlocked the power up, which was to me unlimited lives. Because like right now I'm not like I like to say I'm unbreakable, because like society, I don't care what society thinks of me, because it only matters what I think. So that is how I feel now. So that is why I say I unlock the power up of unlimited lives, because my life, when I lost the life, was when I broke down, and now I don't break down. Now I don't actually care what other people think. What they say can't stop me. So technically, I can't die in the game anymore. So now all I have to do is make it to the end.
I think it is unbelievable how you've drawn out such, this positive growth mindset is obviously embedded in you now, as you can hear that in the way that you talk. And I think there's so much, Milesh, that you have to offer this world and others who go through difficulties. Just some of these things that have come from you, power ups. Oh, I think that's fabulous. That is, at times we're stuck, we're stressed, we're worrying, we feel like there's no way out. And to just
Yeah, that's the
think
way
of
I
that,
felt.
yeah. And
I
that
was
word,
stuck
power up, it's inspiring, isn't it? It's like, yes, I can do this.
and to level up.
Power up and level up. I think those are fabulous. And then the other one, unlock the power of unlimited lives.
Yeah, that I feel like that's my philosophy, because I mean we have things that get us down, and that to me is you losing a life. Because if you have things that's tying you down, that is, I don't mean like commitments, that's good, that's a responsibility. But if you have like negative self-talk, like
Mm-hmm.
like you have like this voice within you that is, because that's what I thought. You have this voice in you that's telling you you're not good enough, like you don't deserve it, like what are you doing? Like how can you do without your parents? How are you gonna make it out of this? What if your grandparents die? What you gonna have? What, like it was just like it's like you only a child. Like what can you really do? Like that was within me, and I had to fight that. So now it's just like when people tell me things, I just laugh, because like what can it really mean if I stop myself from telling me those negative things, then what can someone else do by telling me negative things? I stopped the only person who could stop me. So what are you gonna do? And I feel like in most people they don't actually have that ability, like self-control. Like many of us are led by anger as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that actually blocks that ability. That is also something I had to go through, because I was very angry at the world, because it felt as if my family was stolen from me. Because I loved only for my family, because I loved for the happiness of my mother, the happiness of my father, the happiness of a peaceful home. Just to come home from school, and then like you're just happy, and you come to a home where everybody's smiling, and your mom is gonna cook something nice tonight, and your daddy's gonna talk to you about something, or you're gonna watch the game with your daddy. And then when divorce came, everything just like broke down. So I had nothing then. I didn't actually have a reason to live, because like everything that I loved, everything that I needed was gone. I actually chose to go to my primary school counselor, and I had to work through it. Like That's the other thing I say, people should always ask for help. Like many of us, we feel like, why should we ask for help? We should be able to help ourselves. And some of us, we feel like we always right. So why should we endanger our ego? Why should we endanger our perception of ourselves by going to counseling and say, I think something is wrong with me? Like many people don't feel like that is the right thing to do. And I feel people should try to do that, because even if you feel like there's something wrong in whatever you're doing, look towards yourself. Maybe the thing is not wrong in the world, but maybe it's wrong inside of you. And once you fix it inside of you, maybe everything else will come right. But many of us don't look within ourselves. We look towards the world and we say, you're wrong. This world isn't meant for me. But maybe God sent you here to adapt to this world. And we're not trying to adapt to this world. We want the world to adapt to us. And that is also how the gaming thing works. Because when you play a game, the game doesn't play towards what you want to happen in the game. The story is gonna happen no matter what you do. Whether you take Call of Duty, whether that guy is gonna come and want to shoot you anyway. It's whether you're gonna kill him or you're gonna let him kill you.
That
That's
is an incredible thing that you've learned at the age of 16. I think the only thing that you can control really is yourself. I was also very, very glad when you said that you found someone to talk to, because a few times during your story, it was sounding like that was a difficult part for you. You know, that because your parents were fighting, you couldn't talk to them about things that were going on for you.
yes, I
You
have to
could
look
speak
for.
you could speak to your grandparents, but you weren't sure if they were going to continue to be around, and therefore maybe not being able to talk to them. And so the fact that you found a counselor and that you found the benefit of actually sharing some of your difficulties. I think that's a really profound learning and an important message for everyone as well, is that we can manage ourselves, but we need to also talk about things and get support, because else we will
Mm,
continue to have it just in our heads. So
yeah,
seeking support from others, I think, is a really great thing you said. All right, Milesh, I think you have about another gazillion interviews in you. So at the moment, I think we're going to need to wrap up. But I want to just draw out for the listeners from your story some of your really key learnings that you think are important to help somebody be resilient and overcome things. Like, what would you say are your three top things that can make you strong?
I like to say my first one is, I always believe there's a champion within me, and that champion's always challenged by life. So when you hit a difficult, like I say, difficult level, whether you say God or the game is challenging you, it wants to see, is that champion ready? Like, are you strong enough? Are you willing to put in the effort to get to the next level? Are you willing to put in the effort to become or achieve that dream you have? Because when someone has a dream, there are going to be barriers and things that you have to jump over. That is, to me, that should be your fuel to actually love and achieve that dream. The second thing I say is that it doesn't matter if your family believes in you, or your teachers believe in you, or your mommy believes in you, or your daddy believes in you, or I don't know who you want to say believes in you. It doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters is if you believe in you. So, look, if I had not believed in myself to pass through those levels or those games, those levels or those tough times that I faced, then I wouldn't have been here. Like imagine if it escalated. Like what if I had suicidal thoughts? What if I committed suicide? It was that bad. I could have committed suicide. I could have died. So that's the whole thing. Like you need to believe in yourself because no one else will. Most of these people, when you say you have a dream, they want to break it down. They don't want you to get your dream because it's just like us, we human beings. Like normally when you see someone more successful than you, then you just question. You're like, why does he get it? Why can't I? Why don't I have it? Why does she have it? But I don't. So like the one thing the one thing that sticks out to me in life is that if you have a dream, don't don't go out there and like tell everybody, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Like this one saying that I also love by, it's walk in silence and let success make the noise. So it doesn't matter how much you talk, but only matters how much you walk. So it doesn't matter what you say, it only matters what you do. So why waste the time talking when you could be walking? Why waste your time talking when you could be working and getting closer to your dream? The more you're bragging that you know what you're doing, you're actually wasting time when you could be getting closer.
Do you have a third one?
Not really a third one, but I would say self-affirmation. Like you should do self-affirmation and positive self-talk because I know not all of us have it, but it is adaptable. Like I was lucky enough to learn these things, but I was lucky enough in a very, very tough time. So I would say, God was with me, and just don't ever be negative. Don't feel the world is against you because at the end of the day, why would you be here if you didn't have a purpose? Why would you be here if there wasn't anything for you? Then why do you exist? What's the point of putting you here if there's nothing here for you? The other thing is with positive like self-affirmation, when you feel like when you don't feel loved, like just give yourself a hug and say I love you. Oh, you go in the mirror and you smile. If you smile in the mirror, you will see a smile come back at you. And then
Oh,
you're gonna smile again. So that's another thing I used to use that because like when I was sad and there was no one around, who else would smile at me? Only me.
these tips that you've just given are powerful, are so, so amazing. So the final three ones that you had. So one, and I hope I got these right, is believe that there's a champion in you, and champions are always challenged.
Yes,
So
that's why they're champions.
and that's
So
why
if
they're
you're not being
champions. So
challenged, then
take the challenge and realize it's there for a for a reason, because there's a champion inside you that needs to come out. And then the second one is believe in yourself. Have that deep belief in yourself. Don't rely on others to believe in you or not believe in you. It comes from within. And then finally, and I love this because it's a practical tool, is really get used to self affirmation, telling yourself with your words, with your face, with your smile in the mirror, with your hugs. Like you can give self affirmation and tell yourself, I love you. You're a champion. You've got it all going on. This has been phenomenal. And I think we definitely need to bring you back and talk about some more of your learnings because we can learn a lot from you. So thank you very, very much, Milesh, for your time.
thank you, Nikki.
And
It has been an honor to share my perspective on life.
thank you. We really do appreciate it. And to the listeners out there, I suggest you listen to this again a few more times. There's a lot of powerful and very useful information in here. And find those things that relate to you that you think, oh, that's a tool, that's something that I can use to help me. And remember, if tools aren't used, they go rusty. So find your tools that are going to help you and keep them by your side and use them when you need them. So thank you very much from Milesh and myself at RTB. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.